So welcome back to part 2 of chapter 3, where we continue Pete's talk about holism. Now, I'm in two minds as to whether literally to read this all to you, or whether to go through it and pick out parts, because literally he spent 6 pages bashing MDs, and in this next part he's going to go through, in fact I am going to read it all, fuck it, he's literally going to go through how brilliant holism is and how brilliant his alternative treatments are and his buddies that do all the different stuff, and he's going to ignore things that he calls bad in the last 6 pages but are somehow magically good when he does them. And he's going to ignore a lot of contradictions. He's going to ignore stuff. There's going to be a lot of holes appear in this. It's rather hilarious. So we begin. On one side of the coin we find on the other side of the coin we find holism. The subject is a little bit confusing to the average person because there are many different holistic medical disciplines, all of which are used to treat different types, unique type of treat, all which require use different types of treatment. Homeopathy, naturopathy, acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, chiropractic, touch for health, and many more. The examples of holistic medicine, there are a few examples of holistic medicine, but they all require different types of training from their practitioners. They all require different types of treatment, and they are all regulated by each different state in the USA or different countries around the world. The philosophy of holism, however, is universal to all these different systems of treatment. Again, remember that because there's a massive contradiction coming later on. This is what we will now discuss. Holistic medicine is systems orientated. It argues that the body is a complex intersystem of related parts. You've just spent 6 pages chastising doctors for focusing on only one part of the body, when even if you did that, you would have to know all the inner workings of the body, and to be able to understand it all, but to be able to look at that and identify that area as the problem is even more, at least, complicated and, not as simplistic as you, in the last 6 pages, seem to have said it was. It believes that the human body has an inbuilt natural ability to regulate, maintain, and fix itself. It does, but not to the extent that you prescribe. Its treatments are designed to promote and to stimulate these processes, which again, you've got no evidence that it does. It believes that the body must be properly nutrified in order to be healthy. It believes that detoxification procedures are necessary to optimize the health of the body. Well, okay, in your past 6 pages, you have made huge arguments that because of MDs used to do back in the past, used to do bloodletting and prescribed large doses of magnesium and other things like that, you've said that that's bad. Now, you've just said believes in detoxification. Well, detoxification, guess what? That's what we call pre-scientific medicine. Detoxification, bloodletting, 4 humours, magnesium prescription, all part of detoxification. So you are saying that it's bad when MDs used to do it back in the past, but because we follow these teachings now, it's somehow good. It believes in the existence of a spiritual vital force that animates the physical body and impacts its health. Again, that's just complete nonsense and woo-woo. There is no such thing as a spiritual vital force that impacts your health. Its treatments are more often than not curative. Not the case, because you've got no evidence that they do cure anything. It has a sophisticated understanding of the definition of health. Its treatments are evidence-based, safe, effective, affordable, and clinically verified. Well, we've already been for the fact that you're not evidence-based. They're certainly not safe. They're certainly not proven to be effective. They're certainly not affordable by the case of when you look at someone like Cassandra Callender, who had a GoFundMe page because she needed to fund her alternative treatments that were going to cost her $5,000 a week. So I don't call that affordable and clinically verified. Again, nothing you have is clinically verified. Where does the mind stop and the body begin? Where do emotions both affect the mind and the body? Why can 100 people experience 100 of the same experience the same stress and have 100 different reactions to it? Why can 100 people all have 100 different diagnoses with the same diagnoses, have radically different symptoms from each other? What role does nutrition have on health and well-being? These are some of the questions that holistic medicine model takes into consideration and formulates its philosophy of healing. You've just criticised doctors in the past 6 pages for using a system that identifies these problems and tries to identify these. So how do not all these arguments against doctors which you've just been making in your book do not apply to you? Anyway, the philosophical understanding pinnings of holism are gleaned from the scientific study and analysis of both objective autopsy, blood work, microscopic tissue analyzation, and yet you've just criticised x-rays, CTR scans, whatever you name it, of modern medicine, but for some reason it's fine when you do blood works. Yeah, of course it is. And subjective observation of dynamic symptoms and people when they get sick, which is what MDs do. Holistic medicine is extremely pragmatic and completely grounded in good old-fashioned common sense. No, it's grounded in bullshit and teachings that are based on pre-scientific medicine. Teachings which you say are bad. One of the 4 founding principles of naturopathic medicine is the belief that the human body possesses a strong, sophisticated ability to maintain and repair itself. The concept is not exclusive to naturopathy. It is found in all holistic medical systems. It forms the bedrock of all holistic medical thought and is extremely important to understand. When you cut your hand, do not have to think of how to direct the cells of your body to fix the problem. No, but what about not heliopaths. Oh, damn it. I can't remember what the medical term is, but it's the term where people have diseases where their blood doesn't produce enough platelets, so that when they get cut, they bleed profusely. So again, I'd love to know what his answer and prescription would be to the fact that your body does not produce enough platelets. What is Well, what would be his problem there? I'm going to have to actually look that up, because that would be quite funny. The fundamental belief here is that living organisms possess inherent self-healing processes which are able to stimulate by the correct application of the proper therapeutic agent to effect a cure. So, for example, instead of taking an antibiotic, which is what a doctor would give you, designed to kill certain bacteria, a holistic doctor will give a treatment which stimulates the body's immune system so that the body eliminates the bacteria through its own means. Well, okay, you would have to take an antibacterial an antibiotic in the first place because your body and immune system cannot eliminate the bacteria in the first place. This guy is an absolute quack, and his whole point of this book is to scare you away from your MD so that you'll give him money. This is what it was meant when holistic doctors say that their treatments are working with nature. However, this is often cause for a great confusion. Many people mistakenly assume that holistic doctors prescribe natural medical treatments. However, that means that this is not true. For example, all medicines used by classical homeopaths are not found in nature, which means that they are synthetic, because synthetic is another word for man-made, and you've just spent 6 pages bashing MDs and their synthetic drugs, and yet here you are admitting that you use synthetic organisms. So again, the same argument that you've just been using for the past 6 pages to bash MDs now apply to you. And again, this literally comes after those pages. Again, and he continues, the application of nutrition in holistic medical setting is extremely sophisticated process. It is evidence-based, although it makes recommendations of your registered dietitian look childish, because again, they don't prescribe that somehow eating broccoli or going to the Gerson therapy and shoving coffee up your ass will cure you of cancer. So anyway, he continues to this quote of one of the pioneers, which I'm not going to read because it's complete nonsense and woo-woo. And someone's going to say, oh, but, no, it really isn't. If you haven't picked up the clues by now that this guy's a quack, from, page 14, we're already in, of like a 138-page book, this guy's a quack. And here's one of the funny parts, is an amendment he's made. There is a growing trend in American medicine which is worth mentioning here. In the last 15 years, more and more MDs have been adopting and incorporating holistic medical treatments. It doesn't say what, though. Into their practice of medicine. Ironically, some of the greatest pioneers in the field of vitamin therapy and clinical nutrition have been MDs. And you've just spent 6 pages bashing these people. Some of the most talented homeopaths in the world are MDs. Most of the pioneers in the field of hormone replacement therapy have been MDs. There are exceptions to every rule, of course, so it is possible to find an MD with holistic leanings, or even one that has completely eschewed the allopathic reductionism and has embraced the holistic medical model, which they would never have, because, again, literally, as I've just said, this guy has just admitted that there is no difference between the holistic and, allopathic, which is complete bollocks, because it is medicine, right? Let's get that out of the way. There is no such thing as allopathic. It is just medicine. And these holistic guys can't carry a candle to a real MD or any real doctors. This is why this guy has just admitted that these guys that are making all these leaps and advancements through science and evidence can't make any. Now, he can't name any of these doctors. He can't name any of these things that have been adapted at all. But again, he says that, and then he just goes, "Oh yeah, but remember that they're still MDs, and that they're still bad and horrible." And they're like, "What are you meant to take away? What are you meant to take away from that? That this guy is an absolute quack. He really is." And I'm sorry, but now we'll get to one of his case studies. Right. Detoxification of the bodily tissue is a concept which is foreign to allopathic medicine. Why? Because it's pre-scientific medicine and its teachings have no place in modern medicine. If you can mask the body odour with a strong enough perfume, why take a bath? In systems-oriented holistic medicine, however, the process of detoxification is extremely important. Again, he throws it away with that stupid analogy of, oh, why use perfume? Why have a bath when you can use perfume? That is just such a simplistic. It's not even simplistic. It's just a stupid way to look at modern medicine. This guy claims he's got a pre-medical degree. I'm sorry, but no. There's no way you would, this guy knows nothing. There's no way. This guy's catchphrase is, you don't know what you don't know. Well, this guy knows nothing about modern medicine. He knows nothing about pretty much the entire, concept of medicine and treatments, and even some of the diseases. It's just absolutely ridiculous. He's fundamentally deceitful and an absolute quack. And to say that his system is somehow better when, let's face it, what MDs do is exactly the same as what he does, except all their treatments work. And again, we'll go into his little case study here. But it's not a case study because he doesn't provide any evidence to back any of it up, which would, if this was a proper medical book, there would be charts, diagrams, photos explicitly for this one case. But there's nothing. Because, anyway, so he continues. Because all the systems of the body are interrelated. If we are attempting to stimulate the body's ability to fix itself, we must maximise the effectiveness of our treatments. In certain parts of the body are gummed up with substances that should not be there. One of my most noteworthy cures of urethral coitus was accomplished by identifying and removing high levels of arsenic in a 9-year-old in a 9-year-old boy whose parents brought him to my office because he wasn't responding to conventional drug treatments. Well, okay. First of all, if he was suffering from high levels of arsenic, he would be showing symptoms of arsenic poisoning. And again, an MD wouldn't discount that, okay? They wouldn't just ignore that. They'd be able to see that this boy was suffering from arsenic poisoning, right? Let's not... let's get rid of Pete's illusion of grandeur and his MD bashing for a moment. Because I'm sorry, they would be able to identify that. And let's continue here. So, okay, they brought this 9-year-old boy in because he wasn't responding to conventional drug treatments. His allopathic doctors want to remove part of his colon with surgery. After 12 weeks of my treatment, what treatment, his problem disappeared completely. Again, what problem? Are we talking about the arsenic poisoning he was supposedly suffering from? Because if he was suffering from arsenic, there's a highly likely chance he would probably have died of arsenic poisoning, not from ulcerative coitus. His treatment, so you say in direct proportion to the decreasing levels of arsenic in his system. How did a 9-year-old become exposed to arsenic? Pressure-treated lumber manufacturers in the US was routinely injected with arsenic to prevent pesticide, called CCA. So basically he's attributing it that there was the lumber in this child's house. So I want you to remember, because this is what he's going to say. The house of this child lived in had a deck off the kitchen that was made out of arsenic-injected lumber. Over the course of 9 years, arsenic from the wood had slowly been absorbed into his body from the times he had crawled, touched, and walked on it. So you've just said that this child was suffering from this serious disease and had arsenic poisoning. Why weren't his parents suffering from the same condition? How is this likely? Because in medicine, and you would expect the parents to be suffering from the same thing. So why wasn't that the case? And why did just lowering the levels of arsenic get rid of his coitus? Where's the link? The reason, the answer, is there is no link. This guy's just a complete quack. Now, it continues. The concept of the vital force deserves an entire chapter and gets one in chapter 7. Oh boy. So, you know what, sod it. Basically, he goes on to talk about vital force, which I'm sorry, vital force is complete quackery and woo-woo. There is no such thing as vital force. And he continues after it. Now, he continues and says from this quote that says that now, this does not mean that holistic medicine completely discounts objective scientific discovery. like autopsies and blood culture. In fact, in matter of fact, autopsy and tissue cultures are the cornerstones of applied medical nutrition. Holistic doctors, because they are holistic doctors, looked at both the objective and subjective sides of the coin and consider the whole person. Therefore, in addition to an autopsy, the tissue samples of holistic physicians also consider the subjective side of things. How the patient feels, how the illness is manifesting itself by the way of the symptoms. Oh, you mean like what an MD does? And yet you're saying an MD doesn't look at this and pays no attention to it? I'm sorry, but this book is so painful. And I'm going to skip another part because there's no point reading it, because it's just literally what it's been said before. And then this is where a massive contradiction comes in. Now, he's basically been talking about how they define health, and the MDs can't define health, but they can, which is complete nonsense. Because, again, these guys will shift the goalpost. And this is what... Now, his objective health, which he says is defined like this. Health is the ability of a living organism to express stress and remain symptom-free, wherein the symptoms of the body exist in a natural state of harmony, equipoise to each other. That is their definition of health. Now, it's different from probably what a doctor or an MD would prescribe, because these guys can't admit that's the definition of health, so they have to move the goalposts, essentially. Now, a chiropractor would say that to accomplish this, the spine must be in its proper anatomical alignment so the nerve transitions can carry their signals optimally. A naturopath would add that in order for this to happen, the body must be properly nutrified and detoxified. An acupuncturist would add that for health to occur, a subtle energy or chi of the body must be able to flow through properly and unimpeded. So if that's the case, if you went to a chiropractor and under that definition of health you were healthy, but then you went to a naturopath and again under their version of health you are not healthy, but under a chiropractor's level of health you supposedly are healthy, how then, according to you, are these equal? How then is holistic medicine treated the same? You can't. It's a clear contradiction. And his last statement of this chapter pretty much wraps it up. My colleagues and I practice a system of medicine that makes our patients healthy. And we're the quacks. Yes, you are the quacks, Peter, because so far reading this is so painful, and I'm not going to subject myself to reading it all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it, I'm going to highlight the parts that need bringing to attention, and I'm going to read those parts. Because, my God, reading this is just so painful. So painful. So, yeah, that's Chapter 2, Part 2 on holistic medicine. Filled full of holes, contradictions, and outright quackery. Because, I'm sorry, if this guy thinks that there is such a thing as a vital force, then what legitimate way is it to say that really all Pete's patients are not treated by the flying spaghetti monster because they've been touched by his noodly appendage. I'm sorry, this guy is a quack. And if you still think this, after going through this book, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm sorry, you're an idiot. You're a moron. I'm sorry, but you are. You need to look at the facts, and what this guy is saying is complete nonsense. This guy is a con man. He's a quack, and he's out to get your money by scaring you away from real doctors to him. Because here's an interesting question. Now, he says that child had about 12 weeks worth of treatment. How much, I wonder, did that 12 weeks worth of treatment net this guy? So that's the end of chapter 2. We'll be getting on to chapter 3, which is the stress of life. Oh boy.